So if Congress doesn't act by November 1st, millions of people are going to lose their EBT benefits, their food stamp benefits, right? And the crazy part is that so many people are blaming Donald Trump, namely the Democrats. But Trump actually has nothing to do with this whole thing, because this one's on Congress, and namely the Democrats, who are actually holding the line. And here's what's happening in plain English for those of you who don't really understand. Every single year, Congress has to approve what's called an appropriations bill, and it's just a fancy word basically for how your tax money gets spent. So the money that you work for, that you paid in, they get to decide how it's going to be used. That's called a continuing resolution. That money stops flowing to federal programs like SNAP, like EBT. So the Republican-led House has already passed their version, but the Democrats in the Senate are refusing to sign it because they want extra spending attached to it on your money. Things like federal health care for illegal immigrants, subsidies that have nothing to do with funding actual Americans. And so this bill is sitting in limbo. And here's the truth that most people miss, whether it's this president or another president, any president, okay? This president cannot unilaterally fund EBT. It's actually the House and the Senate who control your money, right? The taxpayer money. So the USDA, which actually distributes these benefits, can't legally issue any of these payments without Congress's green light in this whole thing. So when you hear people say, well, Trump's the reason why your EBT card's going to shut off on November 1st. Trust me, that's political theater. It's a lie and it's misinformation at its core, because whether you love or hate the man, he has zero power to make food stamp checks or the funding to your card to appear out of thin air. That's not how the government actually works. So this isn't about Republicans saying no to food stamps. It's about the Democrats refusing to pass a clean bill unless they get what they want on health care for illegal immigrants. So they're holding America's dinner table hostage, essentially, to push spending priorities that help everyone but American taxpayers. And here's what makes this whole thing much worse, because the money that they're fighting for, it's not theirs. It's ours, the taxpayers. So every paycheck that you've worked for, every dollar that you've paid into the tax system, it funds these programs. So these aren't government gifts, printed out of thin air. No. These are reallocations of the money that you already earned and paid into the system. So when Congress shuts down and programs like food stamp, right, like the SNAP benefits get frozen, they're not just turning off a benefit, they're turning off access to your own contributions to this country. And meanwhile, these same politicians, these Democrats who refuse to sign this bill, they're getting paid. They're making money, right? They've had the lobbyists on their back. They've had all these special interest groups pumping money into them. They're able to see the stock market in advance because they're psychic. They're still eating steak dinners while Americans like Gavin Newsom have to continue to buy Wonder Bread. And so let's be clear about this one thing. It's not partisanship. It's priorities. That's what it's all about. You cannot call yourself for the people when people can't eat. And until Congress, namely the Democrats, stop playing these politics with your paycheck, with the American taxpayer money, America First is just a slogan to them. And I hope that each and every one of you remembers this come election time, because it's coming fast. They're not feeding you, and they're not about feeding you. They're about feeding them.